So I just went through the cold.
Well, that's the way sometimes you just handle it. That's the way you have to handle it, like our friend Jeremy, who's not joining us tonight, because he said he's getting wet.
Well, and Taimak, like, he fucking handled it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that just brings us back to Rabbit Troop Sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, like highlighting, the story of the movie and Jeremy's own trials and tribulations.
Yeah, I just read his text. That's great.
Well, hey everybody, we're Rabbit Troop Sucks. We're a podcast about obscure, forgotten about, and often overlooked films.
Mm-hmm. And tonight we've got something real for your ass.
Real forgotten, real overlooked, real ass.
A little bit of that.
Well,
yeah.
I don't even know where to begin with this. But today we are going to be hitting you with 1985's The Last Dragon. And as noted, the 40th anniversary, hitting you back up with one of many 1985 movies that we will cover this year. And as always, I am Paul. Next to me is co-host Mike.
Yo.
We've got Lamar.
Yep.
We've got our friend Lucor back, celebrating one of his favorite movies, The Last Dragon. Hey, Lucor.
Absolutely glad to be here for this.
And we have Collin.
Woo.
And as noted, we do not have Jeremy. Jeremy is getting wet, texting us, confusing us.
Shit, Jeremy, I didn't know you'd like to get wet.
He's so wet right now.
He is. Yeah, and we're looking at, again, as noted, 1985, The Last Dragon. One of many 1985 movies that we'll be looking at this year. This movie is, for me, and I'm so glad Lucor is here because I do know this is one of his favorite films. This movie is an absolute classic. I saw this movie so many times growing up. This movie's a lot of fun for me, so clearly you're going to know my bias from start to finish going into this film. But like many of the 1985 films, we're going to cherry pick some of them. They're not all Star Night like we did last week. But
they can't all be Star Night.
They can't all be, but some of them are going to be. But The Last Dragon, 1985, in New York City, a young man searches for a master to obtain the final level of martial arts mastery, known as the Glow. And boy, howdy does he. And Last Dragon, we will analyze. Has everyone seen this movie? Collin, you said you had not?
I had not.
But I know for a fact, I mean, I've watched this movie with Lucor, and I assume Lamar, I assume Mike too. Have I not watched this movie with you?
We've seen this movie together. Yeah.
Sho'nuff, we did.
Sho'nuff.
I think the main issue is, have I seen this movie enough?
You have not.
No.
Or have I seen this movie Sho'nuff? And I have not. I've only seen this movie maybe 3 or 4 times.
Lamar's only half glowing right now.
Yeah, it's only a quarter glow, but I'll get it glowing full glow by the end of the night.
I've got the evil glow. So
is it full evil glow?
Yeah, full on.
Kind of non-joke question. This movie's wrapping up February, so we're looking at Black History Month. Should we incorporate this movie? I mean, this wasn't the reason we chose this movie. This movie's just badass, and people should watch it. But there's a lot to be said about movies from the 80s. We have a predominantly African-American cast with a lot of notable people. Should we note this at all for this episode?
I think absolutely so. Like, the way that I was introduced to this movie, like, my dad was one of the black guys in the 70s who embraced Chinese martial arts culture as a tool to kind of bypass anti-blackness and find an identity that was not white, but also kind of, I don't know, satisfied his what he was looking for. So he was a kung fu stylist. He dueled karate stylists. He represented the Chinese martial arts. He was, I think, in his mind at least, Bruce Leroy.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I'm saying this because, listen, listeners, my own ignorance of this kind of cinematic history going through the 80s, maybe the late 70s, I always feel people should be represented. I always want people, as noted just by Lucor, this is my dad's views. I feel there should be a movie for everyone always. I swear to God, I feel that. Much like there's food for everyone, there's music for everyone. I feel there should be representation for everyone. And we're looking in the 80s and so many of the movies we're going to look at, if it's just 85, not that we, Rabbit Troop Sucks, would look at this, but if you're a cinephile and you're just looking at these very 80s movies, you're going to get a very whitewashed view of here's your 4 white cast members, and Breakfast Club, like stuff like this, which I love those movies, but I feel this movie is a rarity because it really celebrates like diversity, but it also doesn't seem to be the norm of 1985, which is the unfortunate part.
I have to agree with you on that, and this is a great movie for kind of just it's not an introduction of martial art movies to the black community. I feel like they are well versed and know about martial art movies. I feel it's a nice bridge that brings like kind of the 1980s Harlem black community culture, and it crosses it with that martial arts, and it does it in a style that is so unique, and it's so raw, it's so real that you can both sides of martial art lovers and the black community, especially in the mid 80s in New York, where everything is just so kind of a melting pot, so diverse. They have their own kind of culture there. I think this movie just has its own little personality, and it's so well done. It embraces kind of just everything that's so good. I want to rant about this movie right now, but you know where I'm going.
Yeah. Something I want to know, like especially with like Lucor, Lamar, and I, like watching movies over the years, like many years. Like all the 3 of us have known each other like for the majority of our lives, which is crazy. But I feel a lot of the movies, like Lamar, you just noted, like New York City, stuff like this. Like the 3 of us love hackers, stuff like this. And I feel The Last Dragon encompasses this vibe that all 3 of us have always loved. And it's like, it doesn't matter your gender, your ethnicity, your age. It's like, you're just part of like this neighborhood and now you belong. And I feel the 3 of us have always embraced that. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, whatever. Why does anyone have a problem with anything else? It doesn't matter. We're part of this neighborhood. Hell yeah. And that's kind of like that New York vibe. And I don't know. I feel Lucor and Lamar and I have always had that. And then Colin and Mike and I, like all of us, like that's kind of the vibe of Rabbit Troop Sucks. Like that's kind of our, maybe like our ethos in all of this. But the movies we've watched, I always felt like it doesn't matter who you are. You just band together for a greater good. Like
we try to find the fun parts of every movie. I mean, if there's characters having some kind of boisterous, fun activity in the background, we gravitate toward that. We know fun when we see it. Yeah. And that's where the heart of the movie is.
And I feel like this movie is about that fun, because you've got other kind of like black martial arts films, you know, like Black Belt Jones, like all the films that he was in. But this one is a fun journey through the martial arts.
Yeah. If any of you guys are getting perpetually tormented by someone like Sho'nuff, call me last.
Not even for pictures.
Are you the guy that like runs away? His combat, his fighting style is fleeing.
Yeah. Okay. And until you get mixed in with a little kid, and then you can just kick ass out of nowhere.
Okay, that's good to know.
That is fair.
Yeah, I mean, this movie, like, kind of sidestepping from, like, it's, like, the hero's journey of, like, I will learn the glow, and I need a master, and, like, all those things. This movie, and it's funny because, like, I always bring up hackers, and, like, and I've said this before on air, like, the idea of uniting, like, there's a greater good, a group of people get together, and, like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is what should happen as a greater good, and we're going to combat, like, an evil. That's an intelligent evil. You see this somewhat in this film as well. Like, maybe not the intelligent evil because it's a little more slapsticky. But, like, so much of this movie, my favorite parts growing up, although I loved martial arts, like, watching it, it was always, like, the dreaming of going to these nightclubs and, like, like all the fun stuff. Because it just seemed like everyone was having such a fun time. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we went to the movie theater at, like, 9 o'clock? Like, I'm watching this movie when I'm 8, 9 years old, so no way I'm noting this. But that's what they do. Like, you know, Leroy does that. Like, he goes to the movies, like, later in the day, and then he's frequenting nightclubs. I'm like, oh, man, it's going to be awesome.
And this movie has it could have used more fight scenes. We'll get into it later, but it has some fight scenes where you are like, man, I wish I was a part of this fight scene, because there's scenes in the where they look like they're having fun even during the fight scene.
I was gonna say, Lamar, I wish I was part of the fight scenes adjacent.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to be fighting the main boss or
No.
anything, but you want to be the kid that's
if I
being
was in-
flipped around by a sidekick.
If I was in balcony 3 with a Polaroid camera, this would be dope. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. All the stuff seems like super, super fun in all of this. I mean, basically the gist from the beginning is your lead, Leroy, is training with a master. We'll say that for right now. And the master's like, I have nothing else to teach you. You've gotten to a certain level that only you could actually unlock the next level, and that level's in you. And if you find that, you'll find this glow and this kind of this mystique, and we as an audience don't fully know what that is, but we're in for the hero's journey. And Leroy is not as sopping with sweat in this scene as he later is. There's a scene later, as I said, I was like, oh my God. Like you that one guy who touches him is like wiping and flicking his hand with sweat. That was so gross.
I'm glad you're describing how dry he was right now.
He was a dry man waiting for the lube of education.
Because
The lube of the glow.
I hate to say this because you know who's not dry,
Jeremy.
but wet is Jeremy.
Yeah.
And this kid
He
wants
wants
in.
it so bad.
I think we've gone. I mean, we don't have a computer down here. I think
Oh, shit.
I think we've gone past.
Yeah,
this here.
you guys should let him know that like this would be like super bad at this.
Jeremy, remain wet.
Yeah.
We're just teasing
I
you
don't
at
think it's
this
going to
point.
happen.
sorry, homie.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had nothing set up, nor we don't even know if he watched the movie.
He said he hasn't seen it in 20 years. It sounds like his wife wants him to leave him alone and go record. Yeah, sorry, buddy.
But the listeners are gonna love it.
Yeah,
He's here in spirit,
Yeah.
literally, kind of.
Yes, but so going back to the film, Leroy wants to unlock that inner/next level, and so his master's is like, bye.
okay, bye.
And so there are now moments of this movie. One, I want to make abundantly clear, I love this movie. But the thread of this story is, I shouldn't phrase it like this. Leroy's life throughout this movie is so bizarre. Like, there are moments where he's living with his family, but that's not like abundantly clear, and you don't know what he does as a job. Like,
I don't think he does anything as a job.
No.
He might teach karate to kids.
Well, so that's the thing. It takes me about the second half of the movie to realize I think he just lives at home and sometimes for some money teaches martial arts at maybe a studio. I don't know.
Well, I think he also works at the pizza place.
Well,
true.
he has to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that also true. The family owned pizza place. Sorry, yes, that is also true. I'm just like very confused about the day-to-day of Leroy. I have no idea. Well, let's go back. What do you think he's been doing day-to-day for the last couple of years? Like, honestly, break this down for me.
I think he spends his mornings or whatever working at the pizza place.
Okay.
Then he goes up to the roof where his little shrine is, and he meditates and trains. I think that's what he does.
And then he trains with his sensei. He
He
goes
trains-
to dojo, obviously,
Yeah.
sometimes.
And
Teaches
then he
wisdom.
catches the double features at the theater.
Yeah, he eats the popcorn with chopsticks.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's his
great.
day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't feel watching this movie like just being kind of like objective. You really understand that until you've seen the movie.
I don't know that it matters.
Until
well,
you've seen
well,
maybe
well,
a quarter of the movie.
I agree with Mike that it ultimately doesn't matter. But like part of it is like, I am under the assumption that this is like an adult who manages a studio. He lives day to day. He had a sensei or a master, and that person's like, I've taught you enough. And you could still teach like other people, but truly to unlock yourself to be like almost a grandmaster, you need to do this. But then all of a sudden it's like, I'm Richie, I'm your little kid, and you're eating cereal. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, no one was like jarred by that at all.
I mean, there's also a piece that it doesn't seem like his master was teaching him the same martial art that he's practicing.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we that we find that get unraveled throughout this film. But like the moments where he's with his family, I'm like, he seems more. I don't want to phrase it. It seems like he's billed more as a adult to begin with. But then it seems like he's more teenager.
Yeah. How old is he in this movie?
Yeah, kind of. That's like my question. Like
does he go to school? Like, is he?
I don't
is
think
he,
so.
What's everybody's guess here?
My guess initially, like he was like 20-ish.
That's
Yeah,
my
that's
guess
right.
as well.
Yeah.
So like, he's
20-ish
out of
covers a lot of years. Give me
early 20s.
Yeah, early 20s. Like my thought is he's out of high school and not in college, but like he's not in high school.
All right.
Yeah.
That's where I was.
But then later, I'm like, maybe. Like, I don't know. Like, he's got this young
Yeah,
kid, and
you
he's
know
like
what?
sneaking in, like back home, and like I honestly don't know.
But he's still got like a young adult. He can't quite grow a mustache yet.
Yeah.
You know? So he can't be that old.
I was getting like a kind of a 19-ish vibe
Yeah,
from him.
I would-
think
I would
we got
agree.
19, 20.
But then if you told me later in the movie that he was 17 and it was like the back end of high school, that kind of makes sense too.
in a way. In
That's
another
maybe a little too young though. Like he's like.
It's the family dynamic. Like everything else, I totally agree. But it's like what are you doing, Leroy? And you're like a big weirdo. I'm like, what is happening? Like, it just seems like he almost again, I don't think he's in school, but it seems like he could be in high school or he just finished or.
Yeah, I think he just finished because the parents were like he's old and he's young enough to like stay with them and not old enough that they're like get the fuck out of our house.
That's fair.
So this movie does a good job of developing the plot, but not like backstory for characters or how like they interject with like each other, especially the family dynamic. We really don't understand much there.
I could go for a Sho'nuff origin story.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say
that's
that
fair.
kind of from the get go.
Yeah.
So
That might be a whole movie in
my
itself
God,
if they
that'd
keep. I would watch it.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
So Taimak, is that how you say his name? I apologize.
No,
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. He's 2021 as of filming this movie. And my guess is like that's the character also.
Okay.
Okay, so his parents are very patient.
Yeah. Well, rent in New York is a lot. So
Yeah.
you're not going to do that on pizza money.
Well, his master lives in this like the dopest New York apartment place in the world. It's
Yeah.
like wooden floors that I mean, there was a window that was like as big as the side of an apartment.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
I mean, probably as cold as hell. So I don't know. Your heat would be awful.
It's drafty, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you just got to warm up by practicing.
live in a world
Shooting
of
bow and
blankets.
arrow at someone.
Well, sometimes you gotta catch
Yeah.
the blue one.
The blue one, yeah. You didn't even know it was the blue one.
And that's part of it. That's how he found out that he was taught to the extent that his master said, I've been shooting arrows at you and you caught, the blue one. How did you know? He's like, I didn't. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, that's awesome.
Oh, he's kind of like, fuck you, this is all done. But by the way, you graduated.
Yeah. It's really kind of, he's like, well, I'm sorry, master. Like, I didn't know like how I did it. And then he bowed down. He's like, you watched too many films. Like, I'm not sorry. You're just graduated, dipshit. But now get out because I can't teach you anything else.
Because I'm going to visit my mother in Miami.
Yeah, I got fortune cookies, and you know what? I know I'm spoiling part of this. Later,
doesn't matter.
Leroy gets a fortune a fortune cookie without a fortune. That happened to me recently. It was really sad.
Did your master take it out before he gave you the cookie?
No.
Oh.
He's like, I'm going to Miami.
What did he take out?
He
He
took
got
it
the
out.
fortune.
Oh, God.
No, he took it out.
He took it out.
Yeah.
So he just
took
pulled it right out.
Yeah.
Well,
Sometimes that is the fortune.
I get that up. Not a lot,
Do
but
you?
from some time.
keep telling us.
The fortune. The empty fortune cookie.
Empty
damn
fortune
it.
cookie, yeah.
I get those a lot from
Lamar, point to the cookie where it touched you.
everywhere. It hurt me everywhere. It was a really bad fortune cookie.
I believe you in many ways.
Yeah. Also, quick Jeremy update. Man, he's bummed. Sorry, homie.
Jeremy, we love you. When you listen to this episode, just
Yeah.
remember we're like in the middle of recording it and you haven't watched this movie.
Jeremy, you are here in spirit.
I think I wrote Leroy Lewis, but I don't think those are my real
Leroy
names.
Lewis?
I don't think that's right.
No, it's not.
Would he win in a fight against Leroy Jenkins?
He might. I know I have a quote later. I think it's from from somebody.
Okay.
All right.
I don't even know who it's from.
I can't wait till we get there.
Yeah,
Someone in this room or someone in the movie?
it's
It's someone.
I'm a fan of somebody.
like that guy, yeah.
Everyone loves the spirit of somebody.
Very insightful.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, basically, we're not really on track with this movie, but
No, it doesn't
we do find out that Leroy is somewhat dejected, and he's like, "Oh, master, no," and he's like, "You'll find it. Don't worry, it's in you." And then that's where we find out that day to day, I have no idea what Leroy's doing. Like, I piecemealed this together throughout the movie. Like, part of it is he is working for the family business, and
Yeah.
they own a pizza restaurant.
Yeah.
And so he
50-cent slices. Can't beat that.
Yeah, we noticed the prices of this restaurant, man. To go back to 85,
Yeah.
what were the clams, Mike?
The clams were $1.50.
I did say
That's a good price for clams.
you're going to get what you pay for.
You ever go down to the old deli and get some clams?
Yeah, I mean, what's what
The fuck, really?
Lamar,
That's
Lamar
a thing?
in New York, we call that the clamory.
Ah, damn it.
yeah.
Now it's a little troubling how little pizza prices have actually gone up since then.
Well, I mean, 50 cents a slice.
Yeah.
Good God.
I mean, their whole pizza price is is cheaper than a slice now at a reasonable pizza place.
Yeah.
Very disappointing.
Don't jinx this for us.
It's already been there.
Mike already wanted, going back to our Fletch episode, Mike wants that pup and taco. Promises have been made. If you could resurrect that restaurant for Mike, he'd buy a pup and a taco.
I would.
Yeah.
I could do that right now.
Yeah, so like the day-to-day of what this guy's doing, I have no idea. I mean, we're later shown that he is maybe mentoring other people and he's a teacher, but like I don't know if that's daily, and I honestly, God, don't know if he's making money off this.
Yeah.
I mean, not that he's like trying to make like a lucrative business, but like I don't know if anyone is paying him for this.
well, based on the quality of his students, I don't think anyone should be paying him for this.
He has some kind of studio though, so I'm like assuming
A
he
studio?
studio.
Sorry, I don't know where that came from.
She doesn't even know my name.
She doesn't. Yeah.
I'm glad it came up, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, organically.
Oh, and
It did come up organically.
No one's wearing
It
pants.
seems like he just guides them through like initial kind of like prayer,
Sure, is this like a
and then they just
pay
like
as you-
beat the shit out of each other.
pay as you arrive, like donations are accepted, like we need to like pay for this place.
Yeah, there aren't parents anywhere.
No,
No one
that's,
has parents.
That's very true.
that's the Cobra Kai way.
Isn't that the way, though? You just drop your kids off at the dojo and
At the dojery?
the dojo, the
And
old
then-
dojery.
And then the master kind of like smiles knowingly when you're kicked in the face.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, half the students are in the kitchen. They're making like prepared foods for like the elderly. That's their like side racket. That's the Foot Clan. Like, what are you doing? Like, oh my God! Like we get the kids. They make the food. They do not get the money. We get the money. They learn a kick or two. It's win-win. Yeah. So I have to assume, to be somewhat reasonable, this guy's making like a pittance, like enough to pay for.
He lives at home. It doesn't matter how much money he makes.
My thought is he makes enough to like maybe pay for the studio.
Yeah, he's buying all those like the Chinese hats. He's got a few of those.
He's got one.
Well, no, but that guy steals it and he has another one later on. So he's at least got two.
Well, yeah, you guys get another.
At least in like, I don't know, like 1990s, it's like about $15.
Yeah. So
That's
I mean,
a bargain.
He's got hat money and studio money, but that's maybe it from that side gig. Then he's working for the family, so I assume a lot of that money is just going back to the family. So I don't really know what this guy's doing day to day. But then
I don't think it matters.
he's going to see movies. He'd
Yeah.
love to go see Bruce Lee movies.
Watching movies all day.
This movie theater is fucking wild.
I love this movie.
No,
theater.
it's great. Like it's like a porn theater for karate movies. Like everyone's just like screaming and like jerking off, and I don't know. It was a wild time.
It's a black movie theater. You go there and you talk through the whole theater.
But
That's what you do.
There were just
You
folks
talk
there
through the
going
whole
to see
movie.
the movie.
Folks, I was going to say, like, the average age is honestly like 11 to 18. But then in the balcony, you got like Big Rig and like Bruton.
Big Rig and Jesse.
Yeah, we were like, I got half crop shirts, but a stomach to prove it. And a stomach of jiggly proportions.
Yeah, no, he was not.
You didn't like Sho'nuff's antics.
No, and the gentleman who smashes boomboxes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get us there. Like, so like
Yes.
why I'm noting like I don't know what Leroy's doing day to day. He's just at a movie theater. As Colin notes, he's eating popcorn with some chopsticks, which is dope as hell.
Yeah.
But he's minding his own business, and then Sho'nuff and his gang show up, and they're the
Yeah.
baddest guys in Brooklyn.
I would love to see the backstory for these guys.
I think you should mention that
attire.
the movie theater is playing a certain movie.
Yeah.
They're playing Enter
Enter
the
the
Dragon.
Yeah,
And that's just like for reference to this movie. That's really important.
They have to enter the
it
dragon.
is.
Bruce Leroy character really loves
He does.
Bruce Leroy.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a coincidence.
No.
No.
But Sho'nuff enters.
Yeah, with his little gang of, I don't know. I don't know what to describe these people
It's a
as.
gang, like from the Warriors. They're ripped straight from the Warriors. this
Sort of.
gang.
Mike should describe the somewhat belt codpiece that Sho'nuff is wearing, especially. It's going to sound weird now that I said
Yeah,
that.
no, make it live for us.
The little tongue.
The little tongue, yeah. He's got like it's like a leopard, I think, or a cheetah.
Yeah, something like that.
Some kind of jungle cat. Yeah, he's skinned, wearing it for a codpiece. The tongue's sticking out. It's cute. It's a little like a blep kind of tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's there representing like a karateka with football style shoulder pads. Mm-hmm. But, like when you look at the style that he carries, like it seems like he's fighting, I don't know, like tiger style kung fu.
Yeah.
So it's a little mysterious.
And I want to give a little shout out to our friend Sho'nuff. He sadly passed at the age of 56 in 2008. He was in the movie The New Guy, and he was in.
Oh, really?
He was in the Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
Oh shit.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
And I remember seeing him in that. Like I
Really?
never really watched that show a lot, but I remember seeing him in commercials, and he was definitely I think throughout that entire series.
I remember liking that show.
Yeah. So Bruce Campbell, a lot of fun. So, I mean, Sho'nuff is the villain of this movie. He's got the evil glow. I don't even know if it's described what he has. He has the evil glow. He is such a fun character in this movie. I mean, so I would say this. I'm going to be pretty upfront about this, even though, again, all my qualms with this movie are just I don't know, kind of silly. This movie is silly, and it's totally worth watching. But I said before that the actor Taimak, if we're saying it correctly, who plays Leroy Green or Bruce Leroy, his acting is fine. It's adequate enough. And I'm not saying that it's a diss or to be a jerk. He's way more of a body actor. He's great at martial arts. He's great at moving around. But Sho'nuff, he is definitay the
Sho'nuff
guy.
steals the show.
Yeah. Julius Carry, he is.
His name's Julius. That's strong.
Yeah, I think so. Can I read my notes?
Yep, Julius Carry.
Yeah,
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Taimak is good at doing this role.
But Julius Carry is the best actor, I feel, of this film.
I think Richie is the best.
Is it Richie?
I like Mike Starr. He's always good.
Mike Starr is great and has 3 lines.
William H. Macy is also in this movie.
When we see William H. Macy, I know he's wearing a futuristic ski jacket
He is, yeah.
or outfit. I don't even know what it is. But yeah, Julius Carry, I just thought was he clearly is the acting force for me. His body movement, his facial reactions to everything, his crazy eyes. His
Calm
eyes.
down, Mike. I know where you're going.
Mike, keep your pants on.
That's too late.
Pants are off. Pants were off hours ago.
I knew it.
No, it's
But his
true.
facials,
His face, he's an artist.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he's got the crazy eyes. He's got the upwards
perfect.
eyes and eyebrows. Yeah, this guy's so much fun throughout this film. If you want a fun villain, Sho'nuff is the villain you want. Come on.
That's true.
He's culturally influential as well. I just wanted to mention that because Busta Rhymes in one of his videos, I can't remember which one, he does a tribute to Sho'nuff in one of the.
Are you being serious?
I can't remember if it was Dangerous or
the song Sho'nuff.
God damn, there's another song he did in the late 90s
Show
where
me
he
what you
dresses
got.
up as Sho'nuff and he does a 1 minute homage to him. He's dressed just like it and he looks just like him. If you Google Busta Rhymes
I'm doing it
Sho'nuff,
presently.
It's dangerous. Yeah.
it is dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it cuts away from it. I'm like, that's cool. That's a cut back to
Amazing.
an awesome movie from the 80s. Big ups to Busta Rhymes.
Well, that's kind of more on the note. Although we're an obscure, forgot about, and often overlooked podcast, and we're a little bit snarky and sarcastic about our overviews about some of these films, and we love a lot of these films.
Yes.
I mean, this movie is like culturally relevant, especially in an African American, like community. Like this movie, as I said, like 1985 is such a classic, and so I feel very underrepresented even today. But that's awesome. Like people are like noting homages to this movie. I mean, this movie, as Mike noted too, has a killer soundtrack.
The soundtrack is dope,
And
up until the credits.
Oh yeah, the last song sucks.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, like what a ill-fated move on that. But we've talked about, Vanity was in 2 other movies that we looked at. I won't say Last Action, but his Action Jackson and
If looks could kill.
nope,
Never
Too Young
Never
to
Too
Die.
Young to Die. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she is so relevant in the music scene, etc. That I mean, we've really got to look at this movie in several aspects. But yeah, I mean, this movie's awesome.
When you're talking about looking at this movie in several aspects, I think we got to talk about the director. I know we mentioned cast and directors at the beginning of the movie, but this director, Michael Schultz, he has his hands in a lot of pies and black movies. And
That doesn't
we've
sound
actually
right in that order.
it doesn't sound right, but we actually done one of his movies before. We got to go back to the old like episode 6 or 7 or 8.
Oh shit.
Disorderlies.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Well,
he
oh.
does a lot of black movies.
Yeah, he directed Crush Groove as well.
Crush-
Yeah, Crush Groove and Car Wash.
Yeah.
Cooley High. This guy is
Kool-Aid.
Coolie High, is that the same like racial slur that we use a lot in this movie?
Yeah,
I think that's where he got it.
God damn it. Rami, sorry.
Cooley was noted a lot. What was it, Kung Fu Hustle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now it's just we can't escape like this weird.
Can we
Pejorative?
should we not say that word anymore?
Well, Rami told us we should.
But this director likes doing a lot of
got that
black movies, and I commemorate him for being a white guy.
and I think they do kind of like an interesting juxtaposition where
This
it's the Asian actors mimicking black culture
There you go.
and using, I don't know, it's like a flipping of a script in order to draw, I suppose, draw attention to some of these kind of like,
Yeah, I see it more of as blending in, like just trying to just connect the cultures together and just having some kind of martial art Asian and then some kind of black cultural hip hop influence and just kind of making something new.
It's worth noting that this director is not a white guy. He has the whitest name on the planet.
Oh, really?
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He directed many episodes of Blackish, which I know we're a fan of on this show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think
I was
he's.
gonna-
I think it's
I-
the name that threw me
The
off.
na-
And
yeah,
maybe I
it's
got
the
something.
whitest name on the planet.
It really is.
But his,
Sorry, Mike.
his mom is African American. His dad is a German insurance salesman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
The thing I noted
Lot
with a
going on
little
there.
bit of research of this film is, this is again our 3rd Vanity film, and I did not know she was Prince's protege. Like, what a
Oh, wow.
dude! Like, what a thing to say. Like, I don't even know what to, like. Honest to God, like, I don't even know what to say about that. Like, that is like a huge name to be like, I was the protege of this person. And unfortunately, both had passed away. I read somewhere in the trivia it was like.
Yeah.
Within like under 70 days apart, they passed away. And I know they had dated at some point in time. Regardless, like, holy God, like, yeah, that's just huge. She seems like she was an awesome person too on the side. Like everything that I read was like she was super involved in like super cool music scenes. Like really like predominant cool people that are actors, artists. She was like a multimedia artist, not just in music, but I think in some kind of like painting. How cool. Unfortunate. Like I miss you, Prince. I miss you, Vanity. Like, damn, Jesus.
Seemed like in the 80s there was a lot of just 1 or 2 named like artists like Sheila E.
Well, Lamar, I told you that she was like the trivia was she was supposed to be the female lead in Purple Rain.
yeah, that's right.
And I was like, oh my god.
Wow, you told me that. I'm like, wow, that would have boosted her career
kidding.
through the roof.
Was she? This is a dumb question. Was she part of the new Power generation?
She was not like from what I read was, and maybe, but like I do not think so from what I read. But there was another side band where Prince was, I guess, like leading, and she was the lead of that. Maybe had a little bit of pull.
That's dope. What's that called? Do we know?
That is part of the trivia that I saw. You guys could.
I'll look this up for later because I'm just curious.
Yeah, and I think they recorded some stuff, but I don't know like how the longevity of that, or if that was just like a recording thing. Just I don't know. That just seems awesome to be working with some awesome people.
Yeah, no kidding. Prince,
wow.
man.
I mean, that's how you get the glow.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Prince had the glow.
Oh yeah,
all the time.
yeah.
Oh yeah. You know who didn't have the glow is Leroy, as he's getting punked out in this movie theater that Sho'nuff just crashed.
Well, yeah. And then
Yeah,
a bunch of thugs are like, "Hey, no!" And then there's a ballroom blitz.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a ballroom blitz.
a man in the back said everyone attack. I don't. What was Sho'nuff doing? Why was he even in this theater?
It was just watching.
That's actually a good question.
I think it was just watching. I think it was just like. Well, that's what it brings me back.
Yeah, let's bring it back.
What is he doing day to day? But he loves Bruce Lee films. He was watching a Bruce Lee film.
I want to know what Sho'nuff is doing day to day. What
Okay,
is
well,
this guy's?
that
What
is-
is his? What is
You're
his
looking
calendar
at
look
it.
like?
You're
Yeah.
looking at it. He just
Yeah, that's
walks
the real
around.
question.
Because our first two introductions to Sho'nuff, he walks into a movie theater and starts yelling at everybody, and then leaves. And then the next time we see Sho'nuff, he walks into Bruce Leroy's dojo, unsolicited, starts yelling at everybody, and then leaves.
Well, he walks into Bruce Leroy's dojo theater because he's punked out in the theater because he's like,
Yeah, but he
someone shouts out, no one.
He was a little kid.
Oh, so he knew who Bruce Leroy was.
Oh,
Kind
yeah,
of
he-
from this
I
interaction.
didn't pick
He's
up on
the
that.
only one standing between him and absolute
No, this kid
supremacy.
sold him out.
Yeah, so in the theater, someone's like, "I know who could beat you. It's Bruce Leroy."
Yeah, the man who's leaving the movie theater
No,
right
no,
now.
no, 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 no. At first,
Yeah.
then he's like, "I know exactly who you are." He's like, "Let's do it." He's like, "Nah, man, I'm just watching a movie," and that's where he's eating popcorn with chopsticks.
Yeah.
And then some dudes upstairs are like, "Hey, dude, we're watching here," and those are the big like tubby hillbillies who come downstairs.
Tubby hillbillies love Bruce Lee movies.
And then there's the ballroom blitz, and then Sho'nuff turns around and Bruce Leroy is walking out the side door. He's like, "Are you not going to fight me?" He's like, "Whatever."
You know, honestly, the chopstick thing is brilliant because you get the butter on your fingers.
Yeah.
This is great. This is a good idea.
No, and then if you watch carefully, he's walking on the handrests
Yeah,
as
he
he's
is,
leaving
yeah.
the theater.
Thinking back on it, maybe it was Sho'nuff's first day as being the toughest guy in
He just
Harlem.
got promoted or
Yeah,
whatever.
'cause
Yeah. Okay.
No one in the theater is scared of him.
Yeah, no one seems to know who he is.
Well,
Either.
how my only hold up on that is who promoted him.
He did, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know who promoted Sho'nuff? Sho'nuff.
Sho'nuff.
But so what you're saying is he was always the leader of the gang, but now he's like the leader of the leader, which was just him as
you know,
well.
maybe he got his sixth member. He's like, "Hey, you know, we're a pack now. Let's go start some shit." And then that was
Listen, Gregory.
yeah.
Was that the other guy's name? Gregory.
Sho'nuff and Gregory.
But you definitely see his frustration when sometimes accidentally his circle of confidants, like associates, hype him up when he doesn't want to be hyped up.
That's true. That's pointed out
And-
later. In
yeah.
the movie.
Yeah,
That's
later
good.
on, he's just trying to be himself, and people are chiming in, and he's like, "No, just chill. I'm just Sho'nuff. That's cool."
So this movie has two things. One, a very notable, like every story has this, and something that some stories have. So as Lucor's noting, I love his like gang of thugs blindly follow this guy left and right. So it's like no matter what Sho'nuff does, those guys are like, "It's Sho'nuff!" Like they even know his name. One big thing I love is Angie. She is with Eddie, like they're the club owners. I love Angie's story arc. I always love when someone kind of recognizes that they're like, whoa, 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 this is like an evil corporation. Oh, I'm not a part of this at all. Like, and that's Angie's story arc. Like,
Yeah, the Angie Eddie dynamic is bananas.
well, and, like it's really like my favorite kind of like weird pull to this. Like outside of the fun of this movie, it's like this weird side note. It's like she recognizes that she wants to be like a pop star, and they're making videos. But when she realizes that the person she's involved with is just such a criminal.
Are we the baddies?
Yeah, she's like, oh my
I
God.
watched that skit the other
Yeah,
day.
she's like, I thought you were in this for my art. I'm totally out. I was like, I love this character. Like, I love Angie start to finish.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she's like the heart of gold in all of this.
We should talk about those two because it hasn't been brought up yet.
Colin, there's a certain point in time where you said she's my favorite character.
Like, kind of almost. I think she is a little annoying and
Sure.
but
annoying with a heart of gold.
Just as charming. As
Yeah,
it is
yeah. You're like, I don't want to listen to any of your garbage music, but I understand you.
So let's deconstruct that for a minute. So Eddie's the short ball guy, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So he's some kind of rich. We don't know what his role in life is.
Not really.
Yeah.
He's an arcade owner that wants to be, some kind of media magnate.
He wants to be.
And he owns a club, and he's trying to be like bigger than his britches.
Well, and so he wants whatever this chick's name is to be like
Angie.
Angie to be a big star.
He sees her as the next big star.
Yeah, I think he kind of believes that. And so this guy is clearly he has a lot of money because he's got thugs on the payroll.
He compares Angie to Laura all the time. But like Laura, who is Vanity, he's always like, "You're the next Laura.
Yeah,
like
Laura,
you're gonna be Laura."
Laura's like a DJ at a big club.
Yeah, and she like kind of like buys and sell, I guess, videos and like she's like the DJ who's like, I'll promote.
She's the tastemaker, basically.
But also like it seems like Eddie's like she will buy your music. Like his goal is she'll buy your music. She's gonna promote you, but I eventually want you to be her.
Right. I guess my confusion with Eddie is so that's what he wants. And rather than just going up to Vanity and being like, hey, here's a basket of fucking money, because I have plenty of it. Why don't you just play this chick's music? He spends that money on thugs and Mike Starr and the Piranha Tank to like rough up people, and it doesn't work. Like, why doesn't he just bribe people?
You know what?
Bribing seems like the clear answer to his problem.
He was going to order a la carte.
Yeah, he was going to do that.
Okay.
Because he's like, this is how this. I know these kind of people. How you how you schmooze in these circles. Yeah. You gotta wine and dine them. You gotta let them buy. You gotta let them buy stuff a la carte. And then she just wasn't interested.
Well, like he's spending thousands of dollars on street toughs.
Yeah.
To intimidate people.
Yeah.
Just throw that money at the lady.
He like hired her to work at a club that has the name of her song, and she won't listen to him.
I don't know.
Well, at first
his business model needs some tweaking.
Yeah, someone needs to look over this.
At first, I thought you were thinking, why didn't he just build her up? But she's clearly just not talented at all. She's off key.
No, I mean, sure,
but we're introduced to her right now in this scene. She's wearing a really weird costume.
There are later songs that I noted that I was like, if they came out today, they would be like total hits.
The songs,
definitely.
For sure.
I mean, the songs are fire.
Yeah, they slap.
She's not a star at all.
She's 15 years too old.
Yeah,
exactly.
I didn't want to bring that up, but
I mean that is how they're viewing.
Or is she just like 80s old? Was she like actually just like 25 or something?
No,
Well,
I think
she's
was
20.
Like
She's 25 in a 24-year-old world.
I see.
As I said, all the 24-year-olds still look 24, but you hit 25 and then you look like 80 in 1980s.
Yeah, that's.
Is that a shout out to Ladytron?
Oh shit!
They only want you when you're 21. Oh wait, they only want you when you're 17.
When you're
and
21,
you're no fun. They take a Polaroid and let you know. They say they'll let you know.
Shout out to Ladytron, by the way.
Yeah.
They still around?
Maybe here and there.
Okay.
The last album I heard of Ladytron was really slow and boring. It was
Yeah.
like a real big disappointment. I was like, oh. I was like, so we're just all like tired?
Well, I mean, they're all like busy doing chemistry and rocket science or whatever those fucking.
like
people do.
one person had like a degree in rocket science. Everyone else,
That's enough.
everyone
And-
else was a retired
And
model.
that's not enough for a band.
Yeah. 3 models and a rocket scientist.
Doesn't like the lead singer of Offspring also have like a degree in science?
I feel like that might be honorary though.
Yeah,
the lead singer of Bad Religion is a PhD.
In being a bitch.
He
Nice.
teaches it like
What,
UCLA or
was that
something.
Greg Graffin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Ladytron came out with an album in 2023.
Wow.
Damn.
I don't know if I've heard that.
Yeah, I've not heard that.
And Offspring
Whatever it
still
was before.
tours.
What's that?
Offspring still tours.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was in town last year.
I don't
Just like
need
Ladytron.
to, I don't need to go see it.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
As I'm gonna throw. I feel this is my view on Offspring.
Okay.
I don't
want to you and Offspring. You got to keep them separated.
Well, I don't. I'm going to separate something.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think over the years the Offspring has produced terrible music, but honest to God, lyrically, the Offspring is one of the worst bands I've ever heard. And so like that's how I have to keep them separated. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, like you've got like a basic like rhythm kind of punky band. And there's only so much you could do over like the 30 to 40 years of you being a band, but like
Right.
lyrically, that
So
dude
like
is
Pretty
digging
Fly
into the
for a
riff.
White Guy didn't resonate with you.
Yeah, no, that was just like, oh my God, like how much worse can you get?
I want to get an Offspring just hot take in here.
Yeah.
It's really rare that a video game soundtrack will just use one predominantly band on it.
Okay,
For 90%.
I don't know what game you're going to reference.
For
Is it Tony
90% of the soundtrack, Crazy Taxi,
Crazy Taxi.
is one of the best soundtracks out there.
That makes sense.
Next
I
to
was-
Tony Hawk.
Yeah, it was like Tony Hawk is like so diverse. I was like, that could
Yeah,
be
the
anything.
Tony Hawk
But
soundtrack
Crazy
is
Taxi, it's like 90% Offspring and some fucking Black Flag.
Yeah, I was like, Tony Hawk has anything from like Atmosphere to The Clash. So I was like, I mean, like
Tony Hawk is supreme, but right behind that, Crazy Taxi and Offspring really slaps.
I know we were talking earlier, and this is, again, going on a tangent, but we've kind of gotten the gist of this movie. And
Yeah.
we're gonna get to the back end. But
right.
going through like, you know, like 80s dynamics and like kind of like the sensibilities. My wife and I just saw, and Mike had seen this before. My wife and I just saw Back to the Future the musical. I saw it the other day.
Oh, did you like it?
Oh, wow.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
gonna say overall, yes, I liked it, and I'm gonna say I am a huge Back to the Future fan, and
Yes, you are.
In the upcoming weeks, we will play not Back to the Future, but in the upcoming weeks, we're gonna play my absolute favorite, or we'll talk about my absolute favorite '80s movie. This will be recorded for a lot of reasons, and but outside of my favorite 80s movie that we'll discuss in the upcoming weeks, my 80s series is going to be Back to the Future. And I love this movie for so many reasons. So overall, yes, Mike, I did enjoy the musical. I'm so happy we saw it. I'm so happy my wife and I had a long overdue date night and we were just able to leave the house and do something fun. So lots of fun things. But seeing the musical itself, yes. So I know Mike is the only one who's seen it. But there are some mixed bag moments for me. One, there are some story changes that totally make sense to me. And I'm like, if you're going to make this like a 2025 movie, like here's one, for example. Doc Brown in the musical did not sell his secrets to the Libyans for a terrorist secret to get plutonium. I can't remember. He was just able to like get some kind of trade secret, got plutonium, and he is not shot by Libyans. He gets plutonium sickness. Like he has a bad radiation suit. So I'm like, there are some updates where it's like, we're not going to vilify like countries and societies. I'm like, that is way better for 2025. And there are some other things that I liked. One thing that was a real mix for me, and I don't know what Mike's performance was, the actor who played Doc Brown, I want to kind of level this in more of like a modern time. I know like Rick and Morty is based on the idea of Back to the Future.
Shit, I knew that.
Yes, but that scared the hell out of me. But like the idea that it's like grandfather, grandson, and I feel that thought is based on the sweetness of Doc Brown. Christopher Lloyd is the perfect Doc Brown. He is. The big question is this: like, if you're really going to analyze Back to the Future, how the hell does Marty know this like old dude? But it's never creepy or weird. Like the way Doc Brown presents himself all through the trilogy is just like, I like you, and I'm in for your greater like interests, but you could learn from me, and somehow like your youth motivates me. There's like a dynamic that works, but I never thought it was creepy. The Doc Brown in the play that I saw is a little more, and I'm definitely using the proper word, a little more like lecherous in his acting. Mike, I don't know how your view, because he was like, yes, Marty, we're going to do this. Yes. Like, that's kind of how he acted.
He's trying to pull him in instead of enticing him.
He's
into,
like a
what is this?
weirdo. He's like, oh, you know, I find things, Marty. Hee hee. Like, he's like this Dr. Frankenstein weirdo.
All right.
And I'm like, okay, I understand he took like a different role than Christopher Lloyd, which is hard shoes to fill. Mike, what was your Doc Brown in yours?
The Doc Brown in mine made the show. When I saw Doc Brown was played by Roger Bart. I don't know if you've seen this person. He's been It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He's been in 30 Rock. Like, this is a known actor. And my understanding is he was the person that this role was written around.
Okay.
I don't know who plays it in Denver. That's why I've been kind of apprehensive about seeing it again. Like, I know that sounds kind of douchey, but like,
that sounds fair.
like,
I mean, based on
he
what
made the performance.
Based on
for
what
me.
you're telling me, I don't think you would like the Doc Brown. Like,
Okay.
So
Yeah.
like, I didn't dislike the Doc Brown that I saw, and maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but like, he was my least favorite part.
I can't. I can't go back to this then.
Yeah,
because
'cause-
he was the best part of what I saw.
So I read something too, and it's kind of spoiler if anyone ever sees this. And there's limitations, I have to assume, from venue to venue. Where you saw this at the end of the movie, does the DeLorean like lift off into the sky?
Yeah,
Like in your stage?
correct.
This did not happen here.
The set design was phenomenal.
I will say this, like, there could have been limitations. The DeLorean itself and how they manage this car on a screen and a set is amazing. But I tried to do some research after I saw this. It seems like in some performances they actually like use a crane and lift this thing up and like twirl it, and that's what Mike saw and I did not. I enjoyed the whole thing. The only other thing I think I would note is some of the songs I thought were a little filler.
For sure.
Like, it was like,
well, it's a musical. There's going to be filler songs.
so the sad thing is, yes, as Mike noted, it's a musical, and like they're going to use some filler here and there. But it's really like the filler pieces are like, we acknowledge that this is now at the 80s and what is considered a period piece, much like, you know, Sho'nuff and the movie we're looking at.
We've been talking about a musical for the past 20 minutes, but Paul, that only you and I have seen.
They love it. People see, yeah. But like the filler songs were like, it's the 80s and we're singing about 80s things. And I'm like, it almost seemed like someone who was like, remember I wrote those songs for the 60s? They're going to feel the same for the 80s. And I'm like, I don't.
No, I'd say that is very apropos to The Last Dragon. Like, it was a narrative of the 70s that took place in the 80s.
And they made it work.
They did make it work.
Yeah, so my only qualms with the Back to the Future play were some of the songs were like throwaway, like 80s reference fillers. And my version of Doc Brown was okay at best. I don't want to diss him. Like, it wasn't bad. I just love the movie so much. I'm going to be a little more hypercritical than most. Having a less grandfathery and a slightly more lecherous Doc Brown, that doesn't do it for me.
That's
like,
unfortunate.
Doc Brown is like in film, like kind of one of the sweetest people I could think of. And the only thing that derails him, Doc Brown, in the mission of Back to the Future is this dope falls in love. I was like, oh my God, like that's even sweeter to the story. That is not the Doc Brown I saw. He's a little weird.
Okay.
But bringing it back to 85, just like Back to the Future, yeah, Sho'nuff is on a rampage. This guy wants to control the town. He's not having Leroy and his bullshit stop him.
No, fuck that.
No.
Yeah.
What does controlling the town mean to Sho'nuff?
I don't know.
Well,
He's not in it for
Just
the
wants
money.
to be acknowledged that he's the baddest and his beanest.
he just wants, when he says, who's the baddest?
Sho'nuff.
Sho'nuff.
Yeah, he just wants that call and response.
Sho'nuff.
Yeah, as a lot of his students note or followers. Sho'nuff.
Sho'nuff.
Even to his frustration.
Yeah, he doesn't like that either.
No, he doesn't. No one does.
This is one of the many, I think, now attempted kidnapped attempts for.
They tried to
Vanity.
kidnap this bitch so many times.
Yeah, I think there's like 2 major attempts, but man, they're all about it.
I think they try 3 times. They succeed twice.
Yeah.
She's not hard to kidnap.
No, the results are decent. The first time she's walking out of whatever the fuck studio she's at.
Seventh Heaven.
Seventh Heaven.
Her song.
And
Damn, Colin's got it down. He's got ringtones.
yeah, and Bruce Leroy just happens to be there, and he puts a stop to it.
Oh yeah.
And she's pretty smitten, but he just fucking disappears.
Yeah, he's got.
I'm sorry, smitten, Mike. There is a very specific word.
She's
You use.
okay. Well, no, tell us because
You know the word, Mike. Anytime we have mentioned someone ready for the deed, there is a very specific word you have used over the podcast.
I have used.
Yes.
Oh, horned. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I said haunt. It's a horned.
Yeah, she's horned.
horny with intent. Sorry,
Which is a combination of horny and turnt for those listening at home. Yeah.
What's turned to combination of?
Look, man.
That's a word on its own.
Turnt needs no explanation.
Sorry if I got it wrong. I'm just laughing through all of this. But like, I have to note, like, Vanity is ready to go.
She's
like,
fucking thirsty.
I'm not even saying this like in a weird like sexual like overtone of the movie.
No.
If
She adds her own sexual overtone.
If any person watched like 3 minutes of the clips of her reactions to Leroy in specific scenes, it is how babies get born.
Well, the next time they encounter each other, the first thing she says to him is, "Do you want to come inside?" And that is the least gross thing.
There is a lot of innuendo there.
This isn't fully fair though, because
Is it not?
Well, so I mean it is, but he is immediately taken by her as well.
Oh no, he's ready to go
Yeah,
too. He's smitten.
Yeah, and-
she's horned.
No.
That's fair.
There you go.
He's looking for his medallion.
No. Yeah. Okay.
He's lost.
Yeah.
And we haven't
He
even
has
talked about
lost his
that.
medallion.
His master gave him a Bruce Lee
yeah.
medallion.
But it was just like from a Cracker Jack box.
Yeah,
or
you just
something.
hold up your belt with it. But she has it now, and he's looking for it. Wink.
Yeah, wink, wink.
Right. And unfortunately, wink, 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 that's all he's looking for.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it is unfortunate for pretty much anyone.
Well, they sort it out later. But yeah. She gets away in the taxi. He finds her later in her house. Why does he go to her house?
He's looking for the medallion
But how does he know where she lives?
because he's a fucking ninja.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like I'm forgetting something here.
I don't know how he finds out. He's just ringing the doorbell. He knows. Man,
Yeah.
like,
He's
and
going door-
he's going door to
anticipating
door,
out. He's like,
yeah.
"Man, I gotta talk to
Voter
him."
registration.
I
There
see.
you go.
I
He
know.
works for the census part-time.
I know I'm going way back in the film, and this
Yeah.
is super tangential.
Okay,
and
bring it back.
we don't even need to examine it. I was just like, I know I wrote down a quote,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, what was it? One of his first encounters, and I believe it's at the movie theater. I'm sorry, I'm going this way back. I'm just laughing because
Is it Jack 'em Up, baby?
Yeah,
Okay.
Lamar and I were just laughing because going back so far again. I apologize. Someone randomly in the crowd was like, "Jack 'em up, baby," and that's got to be the T-shirt. Someone's got to remember that.
Okay.
I couldn't tell if she was yelling at like her boyfriend or whatever who was getting his ass whooped or Sho'nuff.
Yeah,
I
well,
couldn't
so-
tell who she was
It,
cheering
it
on.
was hard to tell because he was having his face
Smashed
smashed.
against his
Winner
stage.
take all. It was what
Yeah.
that woman was noting.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, that was half the movie back. But jack 'em up, baby. Rabbit
Yeah.
Troop sucks. Jack 'em up, baby.
Okay, I'm making a note to myself because we always talk about these T-shirt ideas,
Praise the maze.
and then we're never doing that.
Oh, come on.
And then I forget, and I don't listen to this podcast, so I don't. I need something to pass on to the unpaid graphic designer.
Who, as you noted before in a previous episode, is like, what does any of this have to do in context? And you're like, what are you talking about?
Well, I was trying to explain praise the maze was difficult because it doesn't mean anything, and we made it up.
Well, now jack 'em up, baby. I think
Well, Jack 'em Up, baby. Yeah, she can do something with that.
Mike,
Oh,
I have
and a
to-
T-shirt that says, "You're not my brother."
Yeah.
all you need to know is you have to kiss the Converse.
Yeah, Sho'nuff breaks into the dojo. So, like, as we've talked about before, like, we don't really know what Leroy is doing day to day.
We don't know what anyone's doing, David. Leroy might be a karate instructor.
He's wandering around Harlem just harassing
Yeah,
old ladies.
Sho'nuff is just like walking around with his gang doing
He's showing enough.
warriors shit.
Enough.
He
I
is
apologize.
Implied. It's implied.
he's enough,
Finally.
and he has his own mystery van. They're
His van is dope.
Yeah.
they're solving, like they're right
Are they
side
solving
by
mysteries?
side by side with the
Kind of.
Scooby-Doo gang.
Hear
Did
me
they
out.
leave the dog?
I think
in the van?
Lucor has got a storyline here. So
Okay.
hear me out. Sho'nuff and his band of goons somehow fall ass backwards into the supernatural crime solving team. Like, do you know how awesome that would be? Do you know how pissed he would be? This would be like Cowboy Bebop. They're just
No, this
waiting
would
for
be-
like food and anger.
Okay,
Like, are you
so
serious?
in your alternate universe, like in Scooby-Doo, where the Harlem Globetrotters start showing up randomly,
Yeah,
so
Sho'nuff and the group.
replace that, but it's Sho'nuff and his
He's like,
gang.
He's like, dude, we're working for gas and lunch. Like,
Okay.
are you serious?
yeah,
Sho'nuff.
working for gas and lunch.
It's
Is
true,
lunch
they-
like a big hoagie, like what Scooby-Doo eats? Yeah,
So
okay.
hoagies that they get from this pizzeria. That they're
Yeah,
about
it's
to
the
interrogate
egg
it.
and pepper hoagie. Yeah,
God.
it was only $3.50.
They work cheap. Sho'nuff's
Yeah.
gang, they look what they work for.
Yeah,
cheap.
if they were solving crimes at the supernatural extent, I would totally watch the show.
And he's
Yeah,
Well, do you think there are any crimes where Sho'nuff's territory is?
I mean, only
doubt
the
it.
ones that he himself is
Well, he's
committing.
I mean, he's driving around in that weird van, so he's,
Yeah.
he's
I'll-
bound to find them.
also, not to spoil, he has the glow.
Yeah, I mean, he does.
He does have the glow.
And we've never established this. Later in the movie, he's gonna, clearly we all know the hero's journey. He's going to have to go face to face with Leroy. We have no idea how this dude got his glow, his evil glow, and it's menacing.
He's a fucking master.
Yeah, so he
He
could
had
be
the same
he
fortune
could
cookie
be
guy.
beating some demon's ass every which way. Oh my god.
He's
We need
never-
an anime.
He's never had to. His aura without the glow is enough to just own all of Harlem.
I know, dude. We have talked about just selling like IP ideas to Netflix for years. This would be the one I watch.
Obviously, who else could claim to be the Shogun of Harlem?
Yeah, have
Yeah.
we established that Sho'nuff is short for Shogun of Harlem?
Well, I mean, when
true.
you just tell people it. I mean, I can tell people anything.
He had to tell him to in this little who's the
someone's
greatest, who's the baddest, who's the shogun. of
Ah.
Harlem.
Well, he didn't do it.
Well-
His people do it for him.
Well, over 2 decades ago, Lucor, Lamar, and myself met the king of Colfax.
Oh shit!
And,
yeah,
and he literally bought all of us food and then gave us cash because he thought we were hobos. And we took his cash and we let him pay for everything. And this includes like 7 other people we know. Wow. And he was wearing a gold jacket and kept saying he's the king of Colfax.
what do you think the king of Colfax is up to now?
He really inserted a lot of
What
what,
did
he
he
could,
ins- okay.
well, a lot of what he could and wanted to do to Lucor's cousin. And that's kind of when we wrapped up shop a little quicker rather than later. And we're like,
Sure.
thank you for everything. Goodbye now.
Is he just riding around on the 15 back and forth?
He was in an IHOP where we all were.
Is that the IHOP that then turned into like that
Mama's Cafe?
Mama's Cafe, and it's now like a illegal Pete's. I
Yes,
think
you are
Okay.
correct. And yes,
Yeah.
that is where we met the king of Colfax.
Yeah.
Bought us all food.
That's just
Cash money.
I miss Mama's Cafe.
I don't miss their potatoes.
Okay, fair.
King of Colfax is a lot different from King of Harlem or
Yeah.
Shogun of Harlem.
That's true.
Two different things.
It's a different concept.
There's a lot less competition for the King of Colfax.
Yeah, no one wants
Yeah.
that
That's
position.
true. Well,
No one, no one I want to know.
There's one more person in the room who's competing for that.
Oh wow, who is it? Oh, it's Paul. Is Paul the new king of Colfax?
You just point to me.
Just by default?
Why am I the king of Colfax?
It's like
sorry, Paul. The decision's
Yeah.
been made.
It's just
you
something-
have to get up there.
someone decides.
I don't know. Like, I didn't think anyone was competing, and then like you implied, so I assumed.
I mean, I just happen to be wearing this gold jacket.
I assumed it was like it's like being the poet laureate. It's just someone tells you, and then you're it.
heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Yeah,
We do need a poet laureate of Colfax.
I think
I,
so.
I would say I was in for all of that until I also highlighted what this guy wanted to do to Lucor's cousin.
Well, you don't have to do that.
Well, I don't. Yeah,
That's optional.
It took a dark
That
turn.
was his own.
he's
thing.
he's no Romeo.
We could talk about what Sho'nuff wanted Leroy to do to his Converse.
I want to
then
take
move on
another
with
side
the movie.
approach because Lucor brought this up.
Okay,
I recently
yeah.
brought this up to my wife that
Oh.
Lucor and I were walking around like the downtown area at some point in time, kind of like all about like I don't really want to like even streets.
Yeah,
Just
don't dox yourself.
Well, no, I'm just like highlighting like up and down like 16th Street Mall, kind of that area. And at one point in time, we stopped in a 7-Eleven, and the woman was like very serious with us. She's like, "Oh, you guys hang out with Romeo?"
Oh shit!
And Lucor and I had no idea what she's talking about. She's like, "It looks like you would hang out with Romeo." And this was not the first time this is brought up. Apparently, like Romeo was a thing, and apparently Lucor and I looked like we'd be part of the Romeo gang.
And you were like,
Well, to this date, I still don't know what the
Didn't
hell
sum
that
you in,
means.
She's trying to sell you drugs.
No, and so her response was, "What are you, new in town?"
Classic.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, we got dissed. So
shit.
once I found out, like,
what do you do when they're dissing on your fly girl?
we left?
Okay. You give them one of these.
Sorry, I still have a lot of questions, but yeah, I mean,
No, I
shout out
did.
to
I did
Romeo.
later meet Romeo.
That's right. As I said, like there are other stories that lead to this.
Takes more.
I made myself laugh too. I'm sorry. I'll leave.
Yeah, and how was Romeo, Lucor?
You know, just like you'd expect.
Yeah, were you like, I don't want to be a part of your gang, and I gotta go?
No, like just like in the movie we watched tonight, the mesh shirt. That was Romeo.
Yeah, if you're into
shit,
if you're
was
into
it?
crop top mesh shirts and real tight leather jeans, this movie has got the apparel for you.
Did you meet Romeo in 1982? What the hell?
Well, I mean, I never met Romeo. I was just assumed to be part of Romeo's gang.
And Romeo was like solidly 1982 to 88.
I do want to note that when we left the 7-Eleven, that was noted that we were part of Romeo's gang. Lucor and I were much younger. We had like super long hair. And then both of us were like whistled and hassled at by the workers across the street. So just shout out to Denver, Colorado in the early 2000s. Shout out to
Were you
Romeo.
catcalled?
Oh yeah, like pretty hardcore. This is also noted that Lucor and I were super catcalled on a Halloween once. I'll bring that up at some other time. So good.
Paul, are
Holy
you
shit.
Egyptian?
I gotta go.
We might have set the record for the least amount of time talking about a movie in one of our
Oh,
podcasts.
That's so vanity of you.
I think we did. I think we did even less last week. So.
Did we?
How
Okay.
dare you? Jeremy loves Star Night.
I can see.
Jeremy became a Star Night.
Yeah, no response.
Colin just gave me a look like he sobered up 5 times. Like, what?
He's like, I wasn't here for that. When did he become a Star Knight? He did become a Star Knight, by the way, after that. We all did.
I did not. I refused.
Paul has not been a Star Knight.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, are we going to get to Vanity being kidnapped again by throwing into a van?
Probably.
It doesn't matter.
Well-
Yeah.
You know what? After Sho'nuff came in and punked the dude out of his own dojo, he went back in and met the family.
Yeah, I mean, so this is like the weird thing. So Sho'nuff at this point in time breaks up a pizzeria. If we haven't noted before that Vanity...
As one does.
That's the Parmesan. Vanity... I don't even know what that means.
No one does. It's fine.
But do you know this?
I do know that.
Vanity tries to hire Leroy as a bodyguard. If we
Do you want
haven't
a
mentioned-
guard?
Yeah, you want to go...
My body.
Like this... Yeah,
I was like,
this-
wait, I don't know what you were even saying. I was thinking of something totally different.
Yeah, this scene is insane. This is the most horny woman on film. Like the looks and just like everything that's being said is like,
Yeah.
dude,
Well,
let's have sex.
Let's set the scene here.
No,
so,
no. Well,
yeah.
wait,
No,
wait,
okay,
the only
yeah,
thing,
no.
the only thing I want to say is because
Yeah.
Mike loves Christmas so much, and I mean this as a compliment.
Oh, I want to see where this is going.
The only other hot to go girl that we've seen so hot to go is Santa's sleigh. Like, dude, like, hey, so you basically just want to have sex? He's like, I like robots and delicatessens. Like, oh my god, like this girl's like, sweet dude, let's have sex. Like,
I do like robots and delicatessens.
that's the pastrami on rhyme.
That's code. Okay, so Bruce
Set the
Leroy's
scene.
family's restaurant gets fucked up by the Shogun of Harlem.
Just like Santa's sleigh.
Just like in Santa's
delicatessen.
Sleigh. Yeah. And
he cries.
yeah, so she I don't know how the fuck she found where he was. Bruce Leroy is like in a dojo, sweat crying.
This is where I was like, good God,
Yeah.
the amount of sweat on a human
Oh,
body.
yeah, he is a damp little boy.
So, I mean, like,
And she walks in and it's immediate. She's like, "Hey, you want to be my bodyguard and probably fuck?" Also, bodyguard.
he is.
And he's like, I don't know, man. I got a mission. I'm crying.
I'm going to give this a little bit of like an exaggeration. Like,
I don't. You don't have to exaggerate.
I
Whatever you're going to say. Is
I cannot
accurate.
imagine he is above 160 pounds. Like, I don't think. I don't
he is
think,
not.
Well, I don't think he's like 6 feet tall. I'd imagine he's like 5'9", but he's like super muscular. This dude. But I would assume in this scene, 30 pounds of sweat. It is. It's not really him. It is, this dude is applied with a moisture base that is so uncomfortable. When his student touches him, you could hear the spongy, like, swish. It is so effing gross. It is.
In the credits, there was a specific Foley artist for like damp squish.
Right, because that was the way to avoid the lawsuit of the psychological damage that they could not, define as PTSD at the moment. I'm like, oh my God, I was in a human being. Like sexually, no.
I like to think of that guy's
That was
this is a
Buddha's
shout
poem.
out to Jeremy because he mentioned the Soul Glow.
Oh,
It's kind of like the Soul Glow guy, and it's like that moisture, like that oil for jerry curls that you spray on that makes you super oily. That's This guy was covered with this oil.
So the Jerry Curl equivalent of body lotion.
He was covered with the Soul Glow.
He was, yeah.
and it's not clear how long she was watching him sweat cry.
A while.
My quote was long enough.
It was awkward while he was sitting there, and she was like, "So you want to do me?" And he was meditating, like, "You gotta go away."
And by meditating, he was like kneeling on the ground in like a sweat cry mess.
That's what
Yeah,
it really
he was-
was. Yeah, he didn't have a paintbrush.
He didn't have a paintbrush.
For the art of love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the metaphor that you
Clumsy metaphor, Leroy.
Clumsy
Because,
but
like,
apt. I can
He
understand.
doesn't know any better. Come on.
Yeah, metaphors require like two parties to know.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
if I'm going to slam the writing of this movie, his martial arts has been based on fortune cookie wisdom. So you think he would be wise enough not to be like, my metaphor is the paintbrush, which is my penis, doesn't exist. So how are you doing? And she's like, dope.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't judge the wisdom of the movie because I didn't get the main joke of what he was looking for until an hour and a half into this movie.
So the last 5 minutes you got there.
Yeah, well, I mean, now she's kidnapped again. I mean, let's just get there. She's
Yeah,
kidnapped.
yeah.
pretty much.
Again,
And-
this chick is lousy with kidnapping.
And his brother Richie's kidnapped. They're all kidnapped. I mean, Sho'nuff wants a showdown.
Well, what's the short ball guy?
Eddie?
Eddie does like a thug audition, and he hires basically everybody.
And I do want to give credit to Angie, like in the part of this. We alluded to
She's
this
the
earlier.
singer, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so his like girlfriend, wife, like kind of like who knows what the relationship is. I'm not even joking. This is one of my favorite parts. I think this is like kind of a creative role. Anytime you get someone who's like now aware of a situation and then's like, I don't like you. I love that. Like, and I'm being serious. Like, if it could be a comedy movie, a sci-fi, whatever. And Angie is like, oh, I've been making these videos and they're only kind of sort of successful. And Eddie basically has this breakdown. He's like, I'm going to kill people and blah, blah, blah. And she is so fully aware now of what's happening. She's like, you're an idiot. Like she says like some derogatory things to him. She's like, I'm leaving you. And she's just gone. She then just goes to Leroy's dojo. She just straight up is like, this dude's
Yeah.
a total D-head. F this. I love this character. And I'm not joking. Like any person for any reason who was part of the bad team, but realizes like, cause they were duped, like, whoa, what? Like this is one of my favorite tropes of anything that it's the turnaround. It's Scrooge. It's oh my God. Like I've been,
He gets it.
yeah, like someone just gave me an epiphany. Shakabuku, if you're into Gross Point Blank, a spiritual swift kick to the head. That you just like came to it and you're like, screw this and screw you. Those are always my favorite characters, maybe because it's like the underdog situation. But yeah, she goes to, Bruce Leroy in the dojo, tells him like everything that's happening. And comes down to a showdown. Like Sho'nuff wants a showdown. He's got Richie, he's got Laura, and Leroy's done with it. He does want to get to the next level though.
And let's just like shouting out Gross Point Blank. Let's shout out Benny the Jet Uriquez. All right, back to where we were.
Yeah, just remember, wasn't that the trainer of John Cusack for quite a bit?
Yeah,
and who said that like he hadn't had a student as dedicated as John Cusack in, I think, as long as like he could remember. Like John Cusack was a serious martial arts student.
Yeah, I love hearing that.
Really serious. I like hearing that story too. I always register when I heard that. Like, wow, John Cusack, good on you.
Yeah, part of my trivia, I can't remember. Do you remember? Oh my God, the villain in Cobra Kai, Johnny. Zabapkis?
Yeah, I don't know. Something like
sorry,
that.
I'm sorry, Johnny.
Chocolate babka.
No, I love you so much. Sorry, the actor who plays Johnny. Sorry,
I got you.
We're so focused on this movie.
Yeah, we're deep into this movie.
And I also have I also have like people's names written down, and we were like divert. I'm sorry, I just don't know everyone's name. The actor who plays Johnny did continue to do martial arts. Like I read this, like straight up, Daniel LaRusso. He did not. I can't think of anyone's name. What is Daniel LaRusso's name?
Oh God, I can't.
Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, thank you. Thank God. Thanks, Colin.
Someone you're speaking.
Woo, just late at night. Ralph Macchio, like he did do some martial arts and trained a little bit. And it was his quotes that I read. He's like, "Oh, like Johnny kept training. Like they still know each other. They do Cobra Kai stuff like this." But I believe Johnny reached a black belt. So I'm like, that's awesome. Like, because of a movie, this dude still trained all of his life. And he took breaks. It was like, I did some when I was like a teen. I did some other stuff. I did some stuff going back. And you could tell, like, even in the show, if anyone's a Cobra Kai or like the Karate Kid fan, like, that dude totally knows martial arts. My speculation, I told, especially Lucor and Lamar for years, I had a slight guess that the video game character Ken Masters was based slightly on Johnny, and there's a scene where in the Karate Kid, the actor pulls up, like he's on the floor and he pulls like straight up, like body down, jumps up and like pulls his body up. Lucor used to be able to do this when we were younger. That is like the hardest martial arts thing I could do. I've never been able to do it.
From the floor, just kick yourself back up to their feet.
Yeah, and he does it in the Karate Kid.
I think it's called a kip up. And
and he like shakes. He's like, ugh. Like I was like, oh shoot. And in Street Fighter, Ken does the same. Like there are moves.
Similarities are there.
Yeah.
Bruce Leroy does that in this movie.
It's something I wanted to note. Like there are similar martial arts moves that I've seen in this as well.
Yeah. It's a good times.
No one knows Johnny's name. I gotta look this guy.
You're right.
If anyone does, it's going to be you.
It's William Zabka.
Thank you. It's
Billy Zabs.
Yeah.
I kept wanting to say Sabatka, but that's a higher reference. I'm sorry. But I get what you're saying.
What's the Rodney Dangerfield movie? Back to School. He's like the villain in that. We want to do that sometime.
Is he?
Yeah.
Nice.
He's like the rival like dive team dude.
Does he do karate?
No, he's just like a jerk. and I say that because I like if you watch Cobra Kai.
I don't know why I asked. I've seen Back to School 5,000 times.
Like Johnny is the beloved character. Like everyone loves Johnny, and I think that's awesome. And a side note, just because I love films and TV and stuff like that, every time I see like side things, it's like the dude who plays Johnny and Ralph Macchio. They get along with the cast so well. There's always like these like cool like selfies and like it just seems like the cast is like adults and kids super cool together, and it's just clearly a rarity.
Yeah.
just like this film, a rarity. Now we're at a showdown. So that was the trailer. How did we get there?
Yeah, no one knows. Follow the breadcrumbs. We're here.
We've talked about not this movie way more than we've talked about this movie.
Well, Colin, for years we've talked about, and I think this demonstrates, and this is my hashtag Malcolm in the Middle shout out.
Oh, God.
This was a smooth Francis.
Oh.
Let's not fucking bring more not this movie into this movie.
I do like that
Colin,
you
this is
introduced
meta on
the. I do like that you introduced the smooth Francis terminology to this.
Yeah.
timeline.
Don't encourage it.
I don't not to drag this out any further, but we Paul Lamar and I were watching a Malcolm in the Middle episode last night. One of my favorite quotes from that show: "Everyone thought Einstein was crazy until he started kicking ass."
Reese.
Yeah. that was good for me.
And Einstein did kick her.
Well,
Just like
kicking
Leroy.
ass.
Just like we're kicking ass now in this movie.
we're at the final showdown, and as we've talked about before, Sho'nuff has some like dark evil magic.
He's got the evil glow.
But no one talks about this, but it's awesome.
It is awesome. His glow is way better.
Oh yeah,
he's got the hand glow.
Yeah, he's got red glow. It's Darth Vader-esque.
But it's only to the elbows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In his hands.
His hands,
yeah. The one picture that we may or may not use, he has like weird, like
He's got a strong hand.
yeah, he's got a weird like exaggerated hands, like half hands.
Yeah.
But it's all because of the glow.
Yeah.
Watch out, Mike. You'll go blind.
It's powerful enough. It's the
God.
only special effects used in this movie, and
That's all you need.
it's glorious for
is, yeah.
85 or 80.
That's where the budget
85.
went.
Yeah, that's where you want.
I look back to a lot of these 85 films and again, shout out 40th anniversary. Lamar, I agree with you. These limited, effects, like these little, I don't know, like sparks and little, like, it's almost, I don't even know what they're doing, like animation, like, I guess.
But,
like,
I don't know what.
but like
yeah.
you think of like Ghostbusters, this, like, and I think that's where everyone's like, oh, like that's like a little bit, like, did it age well? Didn't it? It doesn't really matter. It's kind of like goofy. But then when people now are doing serious things like this is where I'm like, it just looks like shit. Like,
Oh god, yes.
like, and I don't mean like Harry Potter, like the wand glows or like lightsabers, even over the years. I just mean like the backdrops and all this other
Oh
shit.
god,
Like,
yeah.
if it's not blasters, guns, lightsabers, swords, your hands, like the Hadouken, we were talking about Street Fighter, like, if it's not just like that, dude, just stop. Even in modern age, it is looking like shit.
This is very like it's used very sparingly.
I know, that's
and
why
tasteful. Yes,
that's why I'm like, even if this movie is like considered like kind of goofy and like silly, the special effects I don't think hold this movie back at all. Like,
No, not at all.
yeah, it's
The
like,
special effects enhance this.
Yeah.
movie.
yeah, like.
If you were trying to make this movie now, I can't imagine how you would use special effects in the same way.
They would screw it all up.
It would look the same.
It would ruin it.
Yeah, I totally agree, Colin. It would just be like, let's do like illustrious backdrops and shit that doesn't age well. Like, doing these small like sparkler effects, like that's going to be like my little like terminology for it, is like awesome. Like, okay, like who cares? And if it doesn't age well, whatever. Like, it wasn't the make all of this movie.
Yeah, I think Lucor mentioned it earlier, but the Sho'nuff's style is kind of like a tiger-ish style, and the special effects kind of like enhance that kind of element of the way that he's fighting now.
that's true.
And it's like if you pause, it gets weird, but if you're just watching the movie through, it looks pretty cool, and it kind of definitely like kind
The
of
way he
enhances
strikes.
the tiger.
His
like,
fingernails are kind of like
Yeah.
extended,
I
where
think
they're a
it's
little
I think it's
sharp.
sweet. Yeah.
The blows look like they're kind of strikes, like a tiger stripe instead
Yeah.
of a punch.
Yeah.
It's really cool effects. We're well done, and it's not too much.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd say well done, but
I think it's well done just for a little spark. It
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
literally like someone flicked a cigarette lighter and
yeah.
just
Yeah,
put
yeah.
an enhanced
Yeah, I-
red flare on
I
it.
would say well done for 85.
well done
Yes.
for 85.
And
yeah,
I would
okay.
say, like, well done for growing up in
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know, like in that world, like
You had to be there.
that
Honestly, I'm
was
sorry to say it.
like the fucking glow was what I was like, I don't know, like fucking raised into. Like
I was 10 years old watching this movie. My mind was
That's how
blown.
you know it's cool.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, these special effects, like, again, props to everyone. I mean, so many times we watch these movies and we're like, yeah, clearly we're like poking fun and we're looking at obscure films, but like the effects of some of these movies just have not aged well. I've said this even with, I know, beloved director Peter Jackson. When he redid The Hobbit, I was like, holy shit, this looks like super dated because he like didn't really update stuff. And like when you get more backdrops, like my dad who's been on the show, like
Rico.
yeah, renowned, and I agree with him, renowned that like you get a green screen backdrop, and you kind of could tell it just ruins the scene. It takes you out of the moment. Like, oh my God. And this doesn't, like, so like props, like you have special effects. I know like Mike was like a little more negative on this, and I don't disagree. We could have a separate conversation, but we watched like Beetlejuice separately. And Hazel, who's like going to be on the show again, and Hazel, shout out to you. We talked on a side separate like thread of text that even if you don't like the new Beetlejuice film, Tim Burton uses like realistic special effects. He's not relying on CG. And part of my like real sad point with Tim Burton is in the more recent years, it's all been computer generated. And that's not what I loved about him. Like everyone could love his like gothic senses and like his Danny Elfman uses and his like Helena Bonham Carter, uses, like, who's awesome. Super cool cast members, awesome music. But over the years, like, more and more computer shit is, like, really aged his stuff. I was even watching, like, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with my daughter recently because she loves Willy Wonka, which I love. Side note. And I was like, oh, my God. Like, some of the stuff which it does hold up is great, but the computer stuff does not age well. So, like, these practical special effects that we see in the 80s, shout out to 40-year anniversaries, because, like, this shit ages so much better than computer trash that we're seeing today. Like, I know that's my rant, but, like, God help us. Like, I love film, but, like, some of this is shit. Again, I have to say, like, storylines are marred. Music is marred with the ideas that we could just do quick special, like AI special effects. And I think that's going to be a problem going forward, clearly, with film.
You have a valid point there, and I'm glad you brought it up. That these days it seems like it's really easy to just push that shit out, and maybe a lot of filmmakers rely on that and just weigh heavy on that, and that's unfortunately all we get. So we have to hug tight the people who use puppets, real special
like
effects, models.
Yeah.
Those who do stop motion. Those are the hard work effects that we have to appreciate.
And I clearly don't want to poo-poo like all CG. Like we've seen like amazing things, but I think
absolutely yes.
I like things that just like have to be done with like specific care. Like they shouldn't be rushed. But like I don't know. Like the more we're looking at films, guys, we're approaching 3 years with this podcast. The more I'm seeing like CG is really like just the cheap way out.
I think we need to go back to like Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, just all stop motion skeletons.
It would hold up better.
Clockwork Owl. That's what I want.
It definitely hold up better.
Yeah.
And I'd like to just like say something to if we have any like AI listeners right now.
All of our listeners are AI.
Yeah, so just like
I am 017.
Like this is Lucor. Like fuck you.
Yeah, I'm glad you got that out there. Now they can find you.
Okay. Yeah, well.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean it's like that. Yeah, so much of the CG just has aged like shit, and that's why I've said like to you guys for ages like. Lord of the Rings, I feel is like forgivable because I'm like, there's certain moments where like, wow.
I mean, that was good for the time.
Yeah, and then I'm like, The Hobbit.
Hobbit came out 20 years later and was worse somehow.
Right, I'm like, you're using the same stuff and like somehow dialed it back. I'm like, oh my God. practical effects, I just.
Yeah.
I'm like, even though you're joking, like the dude who like did Sinbad stuff, and we talked about that in a more recent podcast, like that seems like it would age better than some of the CG that we've seen, which
maybe
is some of it, like
some of it, sure.
yeah, because some of it's just so bad.
Counterpoint. Can we talk about this fucking movie so we can wrap this shit up?
Well, let's wrap it up. So Leroy comes in and he's like, nah. And Sho'nuff's like, yeah. And he gives him some deep, dark, evil magic. And, you know.
Real deep.
And
He gets his magic in there deep. Is that what you're saying? Like?
That's right.
Point to the medallion. And then Leroy's like, you know what? Summon the power of. And he's got the glow. And you know what Sho'nuff doesn't like? He does not.
He doesn't like the glow. No.
Evil glow cannot combat against the pure golden glow, and he gives it to him. And he
does give it to him.
X is gonna give it to him.
God damn it!
I did it.
What?
And that happens, and then Richie's saved, and Laura's saved, and the community is saved.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot.
We did. We all grew.
You know, before we get to our final synopsis and our lack of Jeremy, who's probably like, you sons of bitches.
Jeremy's cursing our names right now. Sorry,
Jeremy's been
Jeremy.
holding on to a really key piece of this movie that we totally skipped over.
We're gonna get to all the final threads and the bows and you know the stitching of this film. As always, feel free to reach out to us at rabbittroopsuckspodcast@gmail.com. If you ever have a movie you want to tell us to review, you have some insight. Have you worked on this film? Some of you have reached out. We've got to talk about this also after air on this. People to reach out to, let us know. We love hearing from you. Also, all of you who have just reached out and been like, I love these films, or thanks for reviewing this, or this reminds me of my childhood. Thank you. Like always, just thank you. That's awesome. That's why we do this podcast. We're ad free. Guys, like, just note, we make no money. We love reviewing films. So if there's something that like really has an attachment to your childhood or something in your life, let us know. We would love to reach out to you. We'd love to share those films. They mean a lot to us as well. RabbitTroopSucks.com is our website. We have links to our audio files, but you know, as always, if you're on any kind of podcast outfit or system or platform, reach out to us. We're on YouTube, we're on Amazon, we're on Spotify, we're on anywhere podcasts are available. I usually use the podcast app on my iPhone. It's pretty available. I think a lot of people use that as well. And we're on Spotify. I was going to say Spotify.
We are on Spotify.
We are on Spotify. As noted, we are also on Instagram and Facebook, which are our social media. How did everyone think about this or this film? Colin, what were we going to know? What was some insight of this film?
If I were to say anything about this, I think this is probably one of my favorite movies that we've done on this podcast.
That's awesome, dude. Well, why? Like, and I'm not doubting it. Like, that's awesome.
It was just the whole thing was like super fun. Like all of everything kind of hit right. The main character, his like, you know, we kind of commented that, you know, maybe he wasn't the best actor in this, but I kind of think that might be more of a director's vision rather than like a fault of his own. Because you know, by the nature of like, as the character, he never uses contractions. You know, just like the nature of like his character, you know. So it's like his the whole point is that it's kind of quirky.
He's stoic Bruce Leroy.
Yeah,
he's just black in Harlem.
Yeah, I think he kind of crushes it in that respect. His little brother, like totally, like I mentioned this in the middle, it kind of reminds me of Dule Hill from Psych. Like I think he's like kind of the best actor in the movie. Like he's super fun.
I never want to interject with Colin, but I've told you all I love Dule Hill. Like that would be like, and I'm not even joking, like top 5 dream kind of like guest on our show. I just think that guy would be so fun and witty and insightful. Yeah. I'm not joking whatsoever. Like I love that dude. I told you it was totally a mistake to like cancel the new Wonder Years. I thought that dude was beyond his character. Sorry, I don't want to interject. Like that was one of the few people I'm like, damn, like that dude is awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so it's like, yeah. So for how, you know, for the year and a half or whatever that that I've been joining the Rabbit Troop Sucks to watch these movies. There's so many that I really really liked watching with everyone, but this might be one that I just kind of like put on a rotation, to like just have on the background when I'm like doing stuff. I just really really liked so much about it. Like it's hard to kind of hone in on it. I really liked it.
That's awesome to hear.
I think a real shout out to this movie, and I'm gonna like give this to Lucor before my final synopsis. I've already said I love this film, but I'm gonna give this to Lucor in a second. Is the idea that you'd put this on a rotation? I think that's like such a compliment to this film. The idea that we just all had fun. When we talk about side things on this podcast, I've often noted, and Micah, I think, is like warming up to this idea, is it's never really about these films. It's just about us talking about stuff, and the film is really like the focus. I do want to say, like, I totally agree with Collin that this movie's just so fun, and just like being in a room with like people watching and just having fun is just fun. Like, I'm just repeating myself, and it's late in the night, and we've recorded longer. This will be a longer episode than normal. Like, get ready for the bit rate to decline, as Mike will know. But yeah, just like this movie is. If you can't have fun with this, like, what the hell are you doing with films? Like, that's kind of like my shout out. Like, I know this might not be the most serious thing on earth, but if you can't have fun with this one, I don't know what you're doing. Yeah. Lucor, I'm going to give this one to you.
Yeah. So, like, first, I just, like, shouted out as just, like, a relationship to growing up the way I grew up. Like, my dad as a black martial artist, embracing the Chinese martial arts, engaging in, like, challenge matches, and then, like, myself also, like, growing up with random challenge matches. I don't know, just, like, fucking around with the, I don't know, just like, I don't know, this movie is very true to like my life. Like, I guess that's all I can say. Like, it's the only film I've seen that's captured a particular part of the Black experience, and it's remarkable that, like other films have caught like pieces of kind of like Black Kung Fu, Black Karate, but as far as the ridiculousness of the experience, I don't think any other film has captured that piece of it. So I guess that's what I'm going to say. Like, the fun, the excitement, the adventure of just the absurdity of martial arts in the 80s and 90s. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's all I can say.
Again, I'm interjecting again because I really wanted Lucor on this episode. I knew, like, I've known Lucor most of my life, and watching this movie I've seen with Lucor before. I knew this was like one of Lucor's favorite movies, and I even said, like, in a text message to Lucor about a week ago, like, hey, we're gonna do this movie, noting that this was like such a pivotal movie in his life, just like growing up. One of my favorite kind of notes of this movie is something that's like acknowledged but not really said. Lucor and I think one of our core friendships is this, like, martial arts is, and then Lucor has practiced this, and I've just like appreciated this more of as a distance. So I just want to be kind of honest with this. Like, Lucor has more like physical like experience with this, and I'm just always the person who's like, I appreciate this. This is a cool thing. And I've always just liked this is, this movie really demonstrates martial arts doesn't involve ethnicity, gender, anything. At the core, it is for everyone. And that's like the universal like love letter of martial arts that I really feel is demonstrated in this film. That no one says like, you're of this culture, you're of this ethnicity. It's just like, you understand this belief culture, this belief value system, and although this movie at its core is silly, it still represents that, and I love that, and I think Lucor and I both studied anthropology, and I think at its core, it's such a beautiful thing in culture, just like there is a practice and a belief that is for everyone. No one is being excluded. And if anyone feels you're being excluded, you're a fundamentalist shithead. Like that is something else. But like at the core of this belief, and I think that's part of our friendship. Like that. Like if you don't understand that, like what the hell? But I'm sorry. I know I'm interjecting a lot, but like I did want Lucor to be on this episode because for all these reasons, like this is why I love this film. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Like I'd say like the accessibility is the heart of this. Like it takes really complex social, racial, ideological, religious kind of like concepts and brings them to kind of like a popular space where people can find their space to negotiate those things in hopefully a positive and fun way.
And the negotiation Lucor could like, and this film demonstrates is just like, you don't always have to be super serious. We could have jokes about these things in a fun, inviting way. Like, ha ha ha, this might seem serious or silly, but like literally like maybe look at these philosophies and our food and our culture and these things. People are like, oh shit, this is awesome. And that's why this movie is so inviting. Sorry, I know I'm again interjecting a lot, but like this movie's so fun. And Lucor, I'm just so happy you're here for this episode. Like, especially for this. Like, come on, man. Like, this is like top 3 like movies for you, especially.
No, I was at this in the movie theater when I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Wow.
Lamar, what do you think?
Just to piggyback on what you guys were saying about the culture, I totally 100% agree with you. I'm glad it was taught or just like through this medium, just kind of the black culture of Harlem. There's a lot of like ethnicity and slang that's used in the black community, but you can relate by just the theme of the movie, not just by the culture. You understand what's going on. It's kind of a gang coming in and challenging this guy who is said to be a great warrior. And there's a lot that we skipped over through, but you kind of get the gist of the story. And by a lot of what we skipped through, I just kind of want to mention the connection that Bruce Leroy has with Bruce Lee. He's a big ass fan, as I mentioned when we first meet Bruce Leroy. He's kind of watching Enter the Dragon, but he uses another method from another Bruce Lee movie, Chinese Connection, where Bruce Lee, he goes undercover as a phone tech operator to infiltrate this little guild or whatever. Bruce Leroy kind of does the same thing in this movie to infiltrate the fortune cookie place. That we didn't mention that before, but it's kind of a long, convoluted story, but the scene in the movie kind of makes sense. It's kind of hilarious too. I kind of like it. It's just fleshes out the Bruce Leroy character, excuse me, a little bit more. I kind of like that. I didn't have much more to say for this movie, except I loved it. Obviously, we reviewed it. You can hear my excitement through the movie, and we were really jovial about reviewing it. It's easy. It's fun. You don't need to know much to understand the heroes or the villains. Their motivations are right there. They don't make it too hard to understand what they want. Just lean back and enjoy it. The soundtrack slays. You can get into that soundtrack.
Except for the last song.
The last song, I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah,
this movie, you watched it, you enjoyed it, and then all of a sudden, I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, the last song sucks.
But to wrap it up, Lamar says, I go. This movie's good.
What are you thinking, Mike? Paladin Mike.
What can I say that hasn't already been said? I love this movie a lot. Contemporarily speaking, it feels like an 80s movie, which isn't a bad thing. Like 80s movies are kind of a category now, and it hits all those notes really well. The acting is fine. The martial arts sequences are actually really good. The movie takes itself seriously when it needs to, but it's fun when it can be. Like, it's a good blend. Like, this is almost the ideal movie. Everything's just really fun. The soundtrack is great. I don't know. This is just a good movie start to finish. Like, it's almost perfect.
Almost. It's right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I feel you on that.
Yeah, like it does. It walks that line between like, is it cheesy? Is it serious? Like it's both, and it's good at being both. The special effects, like they age well. They were probably dope at the time. There is nothing wrong with this movie. It's a fun watch. Everyone should watch this movie.
Let me say this.
Yeah.
Those special effects were dope at the time.
Of course,
And when
yeah.
Bruce Leroy started glowing yellow over Sho'nuff's red,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, this guy has the power.
They do, yeah.
I was
The glow.
that got me hyped.
Yeah, and it still holds up.
Like, got me hyped.
When Sho'nuff starts glowing his hands, you're like, oh fuck, it's happening. It still gets you kind of amped up. Like this is a movie that everyone should watch.
I wanted to say it gets you amped up because they did not do CGI until the last part of the movie, and that's important.
Yeah,
because
they
when you
hint at
blow it out-
supernatural stuff throughout the movie,
and
but
when
you don't
present
see it till the
there
end.
you go.
Yeah,
When you present it at the end, it's more influential.
definitely.
And I would say that this movie does better than Quentin Tarantino typically does as far as creating kind of like a synthesis of the martial arts movie genre.
Agreed.
I feel like
That's true.
this gives kind of like the shout outs to martial arts movies in a way that Quentin Tarantino tries to do, but he makes it too explicit, too clumsy, and
That's because Quentin Tarantino.
like I don't like him as a person.
No, Quentin Tarantino sucks. His movies are terrible.
So I'm gonna give my final review.
Yeah, what do you think, Paul?
And a rebuke to Lucor's Quentin Tarantino review. But I don't think Lucor is gonna disagree all too much with me. First and foremost, I think if I had to guess, Quentin Tarantino, this is his. What we've seen is an homage to. I really feel, especially in Kill Bill, especially Volume 1, he does really take so many directions with martial arts, kind of the views on this. The big thing I want to agree with Lucor is I have no want or desire to ever meet this dude or talk to him. Like, there are things cinematically that Lucor and I are just going to disagree with. That I'm just like, and I think Lucor might agree sometimes, that I'm just like, yeah, that's brilliant or cool. But I'm like, God, I really don't want to talk to this guy about any of this shit. Like, this is not the guy. But I do feel, to an extent, he takes homages from this. I agree with like what we've talked about before. I think the real dialed in practical special effects make this special. I just want to like shout out too that like this is our third Vanity film. I think this woman is like a very super cute, kind of like force to like look at. I don't mean just like her beauty. Like there's a charm to her, and I think a lot of directors that we've looked at now kind of have fumbled with this. I think this woman may have been maybe more directed towards music, and people kind of like saw that and thought we could incorporate her too into like movies. I don't know if that was seamless. I think over maybe time she could have gotten better. I don't really have an assessment. I just think this woman is cute. She's accessible. I see her as a lead. I could see her in music. I would like to research her more. I saw that she was like part of the music in Beverly Hills Cop. Woo!
There we go.
I was like, that was like a big one. I was like, oh man. This movie is just super fun. As I said before, this movie dials in a lot of things to just the diversity of cultures and martial arts. And I'm just glad this is a longer episode. I'm glad like Lucor was here for us. There's a lot to be said about someone's special movie. Hazel was on and kind of highlighted recently, a couple months ago about, Cabin Boy and her mom, really feeling like an affinity towards that. And I never want to make fun of anyone's special movie. Like, clearly I'm not making fun of this one. I love this movie. But I'm like super glad Lucor could be on this. And I know this is an extended episode and a much longer one for that because there's a lot to be said. Like, when you feel that connection to a movie, like, good God, that's the basis of this whole entire effing podcast. Like, you just saw something, even if it's rare, obscure, or whatever, and we make fun of stuff all the time. This movie is clunky in areas, but who cares? Like, it's 40 years old. Like, anything 40 years old, much like myself, is going to be somewhat clunky. So get ready for that. I mean, but this movie really makes martial arts, I really feel, accessible and something that you want to see more about. And if you don't know about Bruce Lee, you're maybe more like, oh my God, like, who is this guy? And I feel that really adds to his legacy. But, you know, I've said all that I needed to say. This movie's awesome. Watch it with friends. Rami, your view is always, should I watch this with a group or whatever? I think indifferent. I think this movie would work well in a group or not. This movie's not like a laugh-a-rama because we're making fun of it. But again, you know, some clunky things, but 40 years down the road, what isn't?
Yeah, I feel... First of all, I feel Rami's probably seen this movie before.
Oh, yeah.
But
I
kind of agree. It's really different. You can see this movie on your own or whatnot. It doesn't really matter. In fact, just see this movie whenever. If it's on, see it. If it's not on, go find it and see it.
It's on Colin's rotation. I'm going to always hashtag that. Colin's rotation.
I'm so happy you watched this, Colin, for the first time, and it's in your rotation.
I am mad at my parents for not making me watch this as a child.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta go look at shit for your own.
Yeah.
Maybe this was a movie that you have to research on your own.
It's fair to be mad at your parents.
That's true.
Thank you, Lucor, for validating my feelings.
I don't know if Mike's going to stab us in the head because this is a super long episode now, but, you know, before we
Mike's
get to our...
fine. I don't know what your problem is.
All right. Well, before we get to our final views on all this, next week,
we have gotten our final views out of the way.
Well, someone might have like one last final thing,
No,
but like
maybe.
next week, Jeremy will be here, and not sad. I'm sorry, Jeremy, we didn't have things set up. But
We can't apologize anymore to Jeremy. It's his own goddamn fault.
next week, 1990, Abraxas, Guardian of the Universe. God help.
Paul is terrified of this movie. by the
I
way.
am. Only Lamar has seen us. I said before, like, no one really saw Star Night from last week, but I kind of got the vibe of like we have enough to talk to. I'm kind of frightened that Abraxas is going to fail every...
You don't think we're going to hit 2 hours with Abraxas?
I feel Abraxas is going to be like, so, what are you guys doing next week?
To be fair, I only watched this movie because
Jesse Ventura?
I'm a wrestling fan, and it has Jesse Ventura in it.
Lamar's our wrestling guy, so Lamar does feel... And I asked him before this, do you think we have enough to talk about? And Lamar said... Yes.
Yes, you do.
And I do. And I think we could have a fun movie, but I'm just like, oh, God. It's like a 3 on IMDb. I'm like, oh, my God.
I think you're going to have a better time reviewing this than Star Night.
I liked Star Night. Mike and I both like Star Night.
Gosh, it's crazy to be so wrong. Well, we could just
You're gonna
move, we
have
can
more
open
fun.
up the studio. We could just wrestle for half an hour or something.
Wrestle?
Wrestle.
That's
Okay. Well, so Colin's now from Louisiana. And I don't know what's going on.
that's how you pronounce it. You wrestle. There's wrestling, and then there's wrestling.
So,
I said piano.
So, an epically long episode, and Mike's like, maybe we have nothing else to add. But again, like, I do want to kind of give the nod that this is one of Lucor's, like, top 3, like, pivotal upbringing films. I've known Lucor most of my life. I understand this. Lucor, do you have any final views or thoughts on the film that we watched today?
Only just to kind of like, I don't know, like acknowledge and reflect that this is perhaps the only like big popular communication of, I don't know, very significant piece of American history. Like, yeah. So that's, I guess, what I'd say.
I think we're all saying that Rabbit Troop sucks. Watch this film. Good God, you're going to have a fun time. And I think we still need to research more about this film, which is super awesome.
We could do another 2 hours on it later.
Hell yeah.
In the week, yeah.
Yeah.
Before we sign off, I just wanted to say I'm happy to have you here, Lucor, because
Yeah,
I
dude.
know
Yeah,
you.
we can't do this movie.
When this concept of this whole podcast started, we were reviewing movies, and this movie came up as one of the first 5
Oh, yeah.
or 6 movies, and I think we all agreed that Lucor had to be here.
Yeah, I know. There's a couple, as we've said a million times now, like 84, 85, 86, especially 85. There's a lot of core films that are so much of our like makeup, our childhood, our upbringing. And clearly now I'm just like, oh man, that came out in 86. We'll just do it next year. Right. So like get ready for like 2026 Rabbit Troop Sucks podcast listeners. Because there's certain movies that I'm like, if I just have to wait a year, we're going to wait a year. And we'll talk about that. But yeah, this is definitely a movie we wanted Lucor with. I'm super happy this is an extended episode. Yes. This always memorializes why we do things, as Lamar just noted. I'll just shout out because it's going to be epically long. Jeremy's going to kill us all. As always, Rabbit Troop sucks.
Kiss my Converse.
Jack him up, baby.